Hello and welcome to the Opus Wealth Style Podcast. I'm your host today, Evan Wohl, joined by my friend Dan Singer, founder and CEO of Revealed Cybersecurity Technology Company. Dan, how you doing today? Thanks for joining.
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have a good time, just a conversation. So, we like to have a wide variety of guests on to talk about different financial topics. One of which is just being a business owner, entrepreneurial journey, the entrepreneurial spirit. And so maybe we can just start with the basics. If you don't mind, share with the audience a little bit about your company and your background, and then we'll kind of dive in.
Sure. So I am 20 plus years in the business of cybersecurity. Been through an incredible journey to get here. Today, I run a company called Revealed. We are a product-led service company that's built an incredible set of tools that basically help protect customers and really big organizations and governments protect themselves against the adversary and the potential impacts of adversaries. Today, those are nation states to a typical hacker sitting in their bedroom, just trying to poke around at customers' environments, all the way to sort of the war form of including people that are sort of using the latest and greatest technologies to impact and use AI and all these different tactics and tools to basically infiltrate large organizations for both money and for potential information. So we sort of are playing in a war against the unknown, the people we can't see, right? We don't know our adversary always. We just know their methods and their tactics, and we can identify them by that way. And it's an incredibly hard way to fight when you don't actually know who it is you're fighting against, right? And similar form to what you see in the news, you kind of have a little bit more understanding of it. It's not a geographic, regional perspective of saying, the Middle East and here's the countries that are fighting against each other and where they're located. This is we don't get to visually see these adversaries, so you're really protecting against a truly unknown. So when I built Revealed, the intent was how do I solve for and make it incredibly simple for organizations to consume such a hard problem and make it so easy for them that they don't have to worry about it. And so how do you build all the tools around the organization's abilities, existing abilities, to help them defend against that? And that's what became the premise of why I built Revealed, amongst many other parts of my journey to get to this point.
So that's what I want to talk about is the journey.
Yeah.
When did the whole thing get started, and did you start on your own? Did you have partners, investors? Like, how did you just get it off the ground?
So I was very fortunate. I spent a good 13 plus years of my career working with a company on the system integration side of our business, where I was able to sort of learn how the entire infrastructure and data center works. Like I started with really learning the infrastructure and what things we need to protect. I didn't start in security. I started in infrastructure, in building data centers and building shared services on top of data centers for really large organizations. And today you call that the cloud,
Mhm.
right? Today you encapsulate all those values into a cloud, and that's the service that you consume in bytes. But I built that for really large organizations in the beginning parts of my career, all while learning what it means to secure it, right? And so I sort of look at my experience of helping build that for large organizations as like my MBA towards like what am I going to do next that's going to sort of leapfrog all those lessons learned and attract something that's going to keep me in the mode of wanting to wake up every morning and fight, for who I'm fighting for, the customer. How
Did
do I
you
make
did you
them
always
better?
know that you wanted to be a business owner?
I think I always knew that I wanted to be a business owner from all the way dating back to when I was a kid.
Hmm.
Um, I when I was in college, I started I would call it an advertising book. It was called the Every Menu Book, and I was quite entrepreneurial, really to pay for beer and
Hmm.
alcohol, but it sort of worked out for everyone because I would basically source out organizations like retail and mainly food around the college and get them to advertise and give coupons and basically hand them out to all the college kids. And so basically their delivery business was, this is well before,
Yeah.
we had Seamless and Grubhub. Uh, so basically I handed out those menu books and made good money every quarter
Love that.
that we would refresh it. Yeah. So
Did you
I think I've
hire some of
always
your buddies, some of your college buddies?
that and have pledges and
Right.
yes.
Some free labor.
We had help. We had help.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but essentially, one of the key elements for me was understanding the sort of leap of working to be an entrepreneur, no matter what the business line is. Like it doesn't matter if I'm selling advertising or if I'm selling airplanes, which is what I always wanted to do.
Selling
Like
airplanes.
when I was a kid, I always wanted to sell airplanes. I always thought that was the coolest thing in the world
It
to
sounds pretty
do.
cool, yeah.
Yeah, that, and it was also like the most expensive thing that someone could buy
Right.
until I got into government contracting. But but yeah, logically as a kid, just loving the idea of that or selling real estate and building buildings, like those were two of my sort of areas that I always wanted to do in my life. Was I wanted to be a developer or I wanted to sell airplanes,
Mm.
but somehow I wound up in tech. And sure enough, it's the same thing. It's the same function, right? It's the sort of, how do I start with the intent of what I want to build to designing it to figuring out how I'm going to like make it possible for organizations to consume what I'm designing and make it fruitful for them, and then going from that process to ensuring that I'm keeping up with the latest technologies to embrace. That same formula exists in development. It exists in a lot of organizational, you know, building of companies. And so as long as you can really, from my lens, as long as you really understand the full breadth of the process of, that there's a barter system between something you're creating and that something someone else wants and wants to pay for it. That journey is really applicable to any
Hmm.
line of business.
Hmm.
And so, um, you know, I would say in my life, I've probably created 5 different businesses and probably failed multiple times, like inside of each of them, um, to where they may not appear on my LinkedIn because they weren't sort of, fully fulfilled and realized, but the ideas were created and they were tested in market and, this like continuous process of just trying to find what people really want, or is that enough to create a business for? Um, Having the experience in being in technology sort of helped me understand that this entire world is now working off of the technology we're building and securing and protecting against, like from the cloud and the infrastructure and the support of that to the applications being built to securing all those functions. We're sitting at the paradigm shift of how organizations and things are bought and purchased. Like it is an absolute paradigm in since I've started business to where it is now. Like 20 plus years of watching organizations transform into basically software companies.
Hmm.
You could say you could probably point a finger at any segment of the market and say that company probably is just as much you take Walmart, they're just as much a software company
Yeah.
as they are, a retail shop, as
Hmm.
much as they are logistical, incredibly logistical, they're a logistics company as
Yeah.
much as they, so like, but today software is really sort of risen and taken over so many parts of not just people's jobs but really where it's all going, especially with the introduction of the transformation in AI, it's definitely an eye opener to where you got to focus and understand where the opportunities are moving. And so again, applying the business methodology of, am I building something that someone else wants, and is it valuable enough for them to pay for it? Taking that theory and applying it to the latest and greatest of, can I do that in AI?
Hmm.
Can I bring an AI application to market that's going to be unique and valuable for people to consume and want to pay for?
And how are you getting that feedback? Are you or like how are you looking to ensure that you're going down the right path? Is it just are people buying? Are people responding and buying it? Or you're asking questions of your of your consumers or prospective consumers? Like where do you focus your energy there?
So good question. I think everyone is a bit different. For me, the tribal knowledge of coming from and building data centers to then securing those data centers, I've found an area within my market that's like a niche, right? But it took the history of learning from all those years of experience and the feedback between customers and deals that I've closed and operated within and continuously operate in. You're taking all of that lessons learned, all that scar tissue, and you're trying to apply what you think the problem statement is that they're looking for you to solve.
Hmm.
And then you're applying all of your knowledge and how to solve it, and you're putting people around you to basically build the circles of trust around, how do I create trust within my customer? Every single circle you build is another trust building exercise for you and your customer. Um, and so building a software company, that's a lot has changed in even the past year and a half or even 6 months. A lot has changed in how you build a software company. So if you looked at the design build of a software 5 years ago, it's not recognizable today.
Hmm.
So you got to be able to mature with what's available to you.
You mentioned surrounding yourself with with people, obviously, the right people. How do you think about recruiting, hiring, finding the right people? What are you looking for? And then, how do you decide if this is the right person to promote or let go? And just what's your thought process around that?
It's funny. I don't look at education as much as you would think. I look for people's backgrounds, but from the lens of their scar tissue.
Mm.
Where did you learn your hardest lessons? How did you apply those lessons? And when it got hard, did you give up? Like, I'm more interested in people's willingness to thrive past something hard. And I'm looking for that in a person, applying that to whatever the role is. They must have some level of expertise in the role I'm trying to hire. It's not just someone off
Hmm.
the street that doesn't have that expertise. But what makes the difference between someone who if you have two people that have the same expertise, what makes the difference for me is always they're battle ready. Are they battle ready? Are they proven that they're battle ready? And are they willing to fight, for what they know is right? And being a part of that type of culture, I think, is a critical path for any organization that's trying to, build a profound team that can execute together.
Hmm.
Um, because it is hard. Like nothing is easy. Otherwise, everyone would
Yeah.
do it, right? It's just like incredibly hard to be a entrepreneur who has an idea, wants to bring idea to market, test idea, put money to your idea, and then watch and see if that idea is still relevant in 6 months from now.
Hmm.
Like that is really hard because there's a lot of variables that go into whether or not that's a sustainable
Hmm.
what your idea is, if it's sustainable as a business model or not. And so it begs the question of this, like, the rampantness of innovation is happening so fast. It's like, are you able to jump 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months? Because typically you try to plan for 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, when you're thinking about a business. Um, but it's really hard to do that when the advancements in technology are happening as
Yeah.
fast as they are.
You mentioned the culture within the company. Are you and your team always together? Is everyone remote? Like how do you make sure the culture is aligned, in the right direction?
We used to be all in an office and in a beautiful New York City, and these days everyone is virtual.
Hmm. No
The
office?
good and what's that?
No office to go to if people
We
wanted to?
do. No, we have an office in New
Yeah.
York City, but we have to fly people in. And, as COVID hit,
Hmm.
everyone sort of dispersed and moved to their own sort of areas. And now, like, the opportunity is to bring folks in, um, on like a 2-day session, 3-day session, planning sessions.
Hmm.
You get a lot further faster just in doing that than trying to do it over Zoom.
Hmm.
And you still need that human connection. You still need to you still need to be able to meet people, understand who they are beyond what you see on Zoom for the half hour calls that you do.
Hmm.
Because what makes great teams is that the fluidness of the respect that's created when you see each other, right? Like, you can't ever make that up. That's never going to go away, and it's incredibly prudent to get a team together, if and when you can. But these days, especially in tech, like, the virtual sort of offering is incredibly enticing, especially if you want to hire the top talents.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. As part of it's got to be difficult to get the best people if you're going to say you got to be in the office 4 or 5 days a week, I'm guessing.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's not likely anymore.
Hmm.
Like, you're even banks and some of the more conservative institutions are asking for a full 5-day week back, and they're getting and accepting 3, right? In some
And I
cases.
think a lot
So,
of that is also because they want natural attrition. They want some people they want to reduce headcount, and it's just an easy way to do it.
but I sort of view it more of the lens of like commitment,
Hmm.
right? Are you in this or not?
Hmm.
Like, if you're committed, you'll show up, right? Like, 80% of life is just showing up. Like, if you're committed, show me you're committed. I'm sure there's some secondary reason behind it for them, right? Because they just have so many,
Yeah.
employees.
Hmm.
But I look at it first more from the level of commitment. If that's the requirement, if the return to work is the requirement, are you committed to this work? Are you willing to show up every single day? Because that, prior to COVID, that wasn't even a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to work for a company, you would show up every
Hmm.
single day,
Hmm.
whether you liked it or not, or you thought the commute was terrible. But I'm looking at it from the lens of, those companies are really asking their employees, are they committed to the mission? And second to that, they're asking, if you're committed, can you be in a region where this is where the work is being done?
Hmm.
And if you don't fit those first 2 criteria, maybe the third is, I am asking you to leave because you
Hmm.
don't fit the
Hmm.
first 2 criteria.
Hmm.
And I think that's a good way to think about when companies are offering those, like, return to work type, those RTOs, right? Return to office mandates. Um, I've had the privilege of talking to some of some of the bank execs around that in the local New York region, and I can tell you that they are um, they are finding that there's a lot easier for them to communicate within their teams and get more work done when you
Hmm.
can sit in a conference room and whiteboard.
Yeah.
Second to that, I feel really bad for people that are graduating college and entering the workforce and not having that group of camaraderie and
Hmm.
people in the office to learn from.
Hmm.
I mentioned earlier, like, I have 15 years, let's just say COVID was 5 years ago. 15 years of my life was sitting in an office with teams and people, and working together and sitting in those boardrooms, or sitting in um, um, whiteboard sessions. Like, there's so much that's learned, and you learn about people and their behavior and their intelligence and
Hmm.
the way that they think about things, and you just pick up so many things. Where now, if someone's graduating college, like, how are they learning?
Yeah.
Like, how are they getting that real scar tissue that, like, that's I think is just hard.
I think about that all the time. I can't imagine starting my business over. I mean, starting my business at any age or time in life is
Yeah.
brutal. But for the early days for me, I would see like the more senior guys who've been doing it for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And I'd get to see how they operate every minute of every day and hear how they interact with clients either in person or over the phone. And now all the new people are in the office because I think partly they want to and partly they are required to, but there's a lot of the senior people, myself included, that just don't go in every day. We
Yeah.
can operate more effectively, remotely, but it's the new people that unfortunately don't get to hear and learn from that experience so much. So the company has had to be more intentional about getting people together on a more regular basis. So just it's tough
It is.
for new grads. Take me back to the early days. What was it? What was it like? Pull back some of that scar tissue. Early days, like getting started. What were some of the biggest struggles that you dealt with then, compared to what you're dealing with these days?
So I think that one of the biggest struggles was putting pen to paper and saying I'm going to put money towards that pen to paper.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest struggles I think I personally face, and even on a continuous basis now, like this doesn't go away as an entrepreneur because um, you want you want to understand that you're putting your money where your mouth is and that you're executing on what you're putting your money into your mouth is that you're getting a return on investment for that money, whether it's an investor that's coming in or if it's your own money. Um, One of the things that I have found in my journey here is that the accountability is number one, like holding yourself accountable to saying, if it was my wish to build something that I put on paper and it didn't work, I have to recognize that it didn't work.
Hmm.
So I have a ton of scar tissue in when it didn't work and being able to move on from it as like a leader with leading staff and teams. You have to be the one who has to tell them that we're not going to do that anymore because it's not working. And here's the examples of why. And the hardest thing is to do that because you're all vested in a mission and you're all charting down the same path. And when that path is not working, you have to be able to understand when to pivot and how to handle that pivot. Um, that is a constant struggle because technology changes, and
Hmm.
so does the mission of the customers and the companies that are sometimes more well funded or whatever they may be. They come up with solutions and solve that problem.
Hmm.
And so being able to understand how not to pivot and how to stay focused and be really good at the one thing that you're building towards, that's really, really hard. So I would say distraction and accountability and keeping high intense focus, highly intense focus is really, really hard to do. But a lot of my scar tissue is not having those things. Later in life, I'm finding ways to be more focused, more intentional with my time, and more mission driven, knowing that the parts that I can't solve for may get solved in other ways,
Hmm.
and knowing when to latch on to that. Like, so I'm focused on a mission and I'm centered around that mission. And ultimately, it's to help customers. Like I stated earlier, like it's ultimately to help and prevent customers from the adversary.
Hmm.
But all the different things I need to do to make sure that's possible, that's where it's a wider net and willingness to partner and be a part of an ecosystem and not just be the sole provider of it all.
Hmm. Speaking of an ecosystem, do you do you have mentors in the business? Do you have like a study group of other business owners that you meet with? Like, where do you go for advice and just, make sure you're continually learning?
Oh man. Yeah. There's you know, what's the saying? It takes it takes an entire community to raise a kid.
Takes a village. Yeah.
Um, it takes a village. It's truly in a mass group of advisors to influencers in my life personally, starting from like my grandfather
Mm.
who came to this country with nothing, built an entire business, flourished for years, and all the way up until upon his death, like almost a year or two before that, they decided to exit just because they were getting older and
What
they
was the
couldn't do it
business?
anymore. It was clothing stores, believe it or not.
Retail?
So retail,
Yeah.
yeah. So they had a business for 50 plus years, So then when they came to this country, they literally had nothing. I mean, they were Holocaust survivors, and
Wow.
they literally had nothing.
Amazing.
And they figured out how to. My grandfather was a tailor,
Hmm.
and so he figured out how to use his trade, and he really had to learn to become a tailor because after the war he was only like you know 17, 18 years old. Um, to then have to figure out a trade, work in that trade, be an expert in that trade, and then open up a business and survive for 50 years.
Incredible.
That is something that to me is a good is good is something good to emulate if you
Hmm.
can.
Hmm.
Um, and I, my grandfather was it's an incredible story. Not just that, but even the connections within my life that take the weight and the fortitude that he had. I carry that with me because it sort of is the guiding light of like, yes, like 50 years of being in business, like there must have been a lot of
Yeah.
hard days.
Yeah.
But to survive for that long, there's a lot of grit you got to put forward. And so if they can do it, can you do it? And so to me, like I would say he was one of my mentors. My father, my mother, who ran a small business, a small uh, Hallmark stores, and my father, who worked in and built, helped build a company, a jewelry company. Like you see it from the small business, you see it from the retailer side, to you see it from a large enterprise business. Like I always say, like I got the best of both worlds because my parents, came from both sides. Like I had someone that had the small business mind and a large enterprise, execution. So how do you pick a lane? What's good about that is you learn what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Like it's
Very
like
valuable.
sometimes that actually is the lesson.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, like I saw what that was, and I don't want that for myself.
Hmm.
I want my dad to be at my hockey games. Like I
Hmm.
want my parents to be able to cook me dinner. I want, like, there's certain things in life that you're making decisions for, which will also require you to give something up.
Yeah. Yeah. At this stage of our lives, we're in a similar stage. We got young kids. I just read a book, Five Types of Wealth, I think it's called. I think it's by Sahil Bloom, but really great insights, that just really just deep questions that make you think, how do you really want to design your life? And one
Yeah,
that kind of sent shivers. There was two of them that really had me think. One was, who is sitting front row at your funeral? Who are those people? And when you think about life in that way, you may treat those people a little differently. And the other was related with your family, and it could be your parents or your kids, but there will be a last time you do something with them. Last time you read them a book, last time you give them a bottle, last time you take them to my son's doing chess now, so a chess tournament or anything like that. Or last time I play golf with my dad. That fortunately my parents are both healthy and they're doing great. But I do think about that. Like my dad's, my parents are in their early 70s, and I've been playing golf with my dad since for I don't know, 30 about 30 years now. And
no, that's awesome.
there will be a day where it will be our last round of golf. And so there are times when maybe I don't necessarily want to go play a round of golf, either that day or with him, because maybe there's other things going on. But I always think, no, no, that's important. I got to go do that. So anyway, how you like those decisions you make in life, you can and should absolutely be very intentional about how you design your life. So
Yeah,
I love that
it
conversation.
highly focused, be intentional. Like, and and know when to pivot.
Yeah.
It's really those are like the and it's all the scar tissue, it's all the things you've learned throughout your life to get here, whether it's your parents shaping you, grandparents, um, friends or colleagues that you meet along the way. Like I love the idea of almost almost reverse engineering to your point, like what does my end of my life look like
Yeah.
that I need to accomplish now? What do I need to do now in my life to get to where I'll be happy looking backwards
Hmm.
at everything I've accomplished in my life? Like what is it that I need to do? And then setting your priorities and aligning to those priorities every single day, week, month,
Yeah.
year
All right.
with
So
your family.
I'm gonna
With
I'm
your
gonna
family.
end this with a deep one. Uh, you've got young kids. We're talking about priorities and living life. Is there one, two, or three things like what are the top one or two things that you would maybe life lessons that you would want to impart on your children?
Well, I would think the first thing that I would want my children to understand is what it means to work really hard,
Hmm.
but towards a mission
Hmm.
with a purpose. Um, if I can instill that in them, and it doesn't matter what they want to do, it could be from playing baseball to, making movies. It doesn't matter. Like I think what I really want for my children is to have that understanding of purpose and that there is a place for them in this world and that purpose is their guiding light. So making them incredibly mission oriented towards whatever they feel is great for them, but giving them the tools to like understand how to see it, and not push them towards anything. Like
Hmm.
it's not it's not my life, it's theirs.
Hmm.
Like let them live their life, let them, create their own framework. But how do I help them just see things that it's taken me 40 plus years to see, and get them to better understand and at least educate them on it. um, the second thing I think is most important is family. Like
Hmm.
being able to be present is incredibly hard to say as an entrepreneur, um, because I struggle with presence. Like there is more distractions to speak of. So if I can give them something that is better than what I give them in some cases, is being present with family
Hmm.
and being absolutely like create those connections. Like there's nothing more in life than you need than being able to laugh. Um, it sort of all culminates to that, right? Like if
Yeah.
you can find a way to laugh, then you've hit the ultimate sort of goal of why you're with your friends, why you're with your family. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter if it's colleagues. Like find a way to laugh, and you'll create the right connections in life. Someone who wants to laugh with you.
I love that.
And
That's
then lastly, like I think unfortunately, good, bad, or indifferent, like what I looking back at school, what I learned in school and how applicable is that to when I started in the work life.
hmm.
I'm challenged there a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure that school readied me for like the work life where my parents readied me for more of like the commitment to work, like the
Hmm.
commitment to be part of a mission. Um, so giving them, whether it's financial advice or understanding like that barter system that I was describing, like that monetary, like do something that is has an impact,
Hmm.
um, where you are able to mutually create value for people around you. It doesn't have to be monetary, but it has to be, you have to want to create something that's going to be of value for the people around you. And I think that is really important. Um, they don't really teach you that in college or in high school or in middle school. Like they're teaching you the fundamentals of information
Yeah.
that you need, which today, unfortunately, an AI tool
Yeah.
does all those thinking for you.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
um, what I would love for our education system is to like make people better understand how to actually live life.
Yeah.
Like that to me is where I think there's parts missing. And I didn't have that in my journey, at least. Others may have.
Not too many. I think a lot of people are kind of along the same lines of your experience, and hopefully AI will have a positive impact on future education and more personalized learning. But uh, I couldn't agree more there.
I pray for one thing there, just with AI, is that it doesn't take away the critical thinking
Yeah.
of people. Like there was like a study that showed someone who was using ChatGPT versus someone who was writing a paper, and
Hmm.
just the brain activity. The paper was showing the differences in the brain activity, and it's like, oh man, like I need people to be critical thinkers,
Yeah.
because it's what you're injecting into the GPT is what matters. So that's a critical. That's unfortunately, like it's like you're getting something easy on one hand, but you're losing a fundamental skill on the other. Like you need both.
Yeah.
You got to be critical thinking. You got to have that critical thinking. Otherwise, you're not going to see past what information you're being fed, and what if it's wrong.
Yeah. You want to know if you actually know a topic real well, try to write a long form, well written document on that. That's where you really need to figure it out. Well, Dan, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you joining. How can if the listening audience wants to connect with you or learn more about your company, where can they find you?
Yeah, revealed.com, or Dan at Revealed, and just shoot me an email.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And to the listening audience, thanks for tuning in. If you liked and are enjoying these conversations, like and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.